Greetings, friends, travelers, people of the earth. Today I'm going to be talking about death, resurrection, and ascension. And it's my take on these things, and this is what I've interpreted from what I have experienced and what I have read. Okay? And let's just start unpacking it. So, death, first of all. So, death also means transformation. Death is when it's the eternal sleep. It is I see death as actually the ego being released into the aether and back into the stream of consciousness. Okay? And I believe that you either die or you ascend or you resurrect. Okay? There's a difference between all of them. And I'm going to start to talk about that more and more as we go on. So death is like when you die, you're done. It's the world, the universe is consuming you so that your ego is consumed so that a new ego can be formed, okay? And that's death. And usually, I believe that happens when somebody or a human being goes through their life without actually creating anything or coming up with their own creative ideas, or basically they just get on the wheel and then that's what they do, okay? So when they croak, they get returned back to the non-physical stream of consciousness, which is an all-knowing, all-pervasive idea that is constantly flowing to and through this entire world. Okay. And so there is a resource. So the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus Christ talks about death. He says, whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not experience death. Okay. In the Gospel of Thomas, that's the first line. Now, the seventh line of the Gospel of Thomas says, blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man, and cursed is the man whom the lion consumes, and the lion becomes man. Okay. So let's break that down. Blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man. So when you eat the lion, okay, basically the lion in this case represents the universe, the aether, the world, the stream. And we are part of this three-dimensional universe, which is essentially the lion. And so when you consume the three-dimensional universe, meaning you read books, you listen to what people have to say, you see what ideas are out there, you research, you dig, you delve, okay? You consume all of this information. And using this consumption of information, you develop your own creativity, your own way, your own ideas, your own information, which is not like the rest because it is a synopsis of all of it, plus whatever is inherent in you. So blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man. And cursed is the man whom the lion consumes. And the lion becomes man. Okay? So the lion is the stream, is the universe, is the three-dimensional world. And cursed is the man who the lion consumes. So like the world, the three-dimensional world, has an ability to consume you in a way. It has an ability to try to take away your godliness, try to take away your power. And the way that it does this is we can see this in daily life. Like, if you can be convinced that you have no original ideas, or that you are not as powerful as everyone else in this world, and we are all equally powerful. We are all equally powerful gods who are unique. gods, but we all have this power within us, this godly power, okay? But if you don't realize your own power, then you become, cursed is the man who the lion consumes. You become consumed by the three-dimensional world, okay? So I think death, essentially, is when you are consumed. And we could see people living today who have died, such as Nikola Tesla, such as Achilles, such as Hercules, such as Jesus Christ. Even though they've died, they are still remembered, okay? And another concept to think about is past, present, future. What was, is, and always will be. Everything that ever existed in this world still exists in the present moment and will always exist, okay? And so this is where reincarnation comes in. And with reincarnation, I have my own experiences with remembering past lives and activating into the talents and abilities that my past lives have curated for me through living out their lives, through living out my life in the past. But what was, is, and so now I'm here and will always be, okay? And so reincarnation is a process. Reincarnation is it's this constant cycle of death and rebirth. And the Hindus believe that the reincarnation process is a learning process, an ascension process leading to ascension, okay? So I think there's stages to this. Like death is the first stage. Reincarnation is the second stage. Ascension is the third stage. And the ascended masters such as Jesus Christ, Lao Tzu, Saint Germain, Maharaji, these guys, they've ascended into... Basically, we have the ability to speak to them at any time. We have contact with them because they have this ascension. They're in the higher dimensions. And in the higher dimensions, they have access to the third dimension. And in the third dimension, I believe, is where all of the royalty lies. So this is like... The Hindus believe that when you're reincarnated, you are reincarnated as whatever you were thinking about most in your previous life. So like, let's say that you were super fixated on material objects or consumption. Then you'll be reincarnated as an animal. Okay, but if you're super fixated on the higher faculties that are unique to humans, rather than your animalistic or your reptilian tendencies, but the more humanistic tendencies, if you're focused on that during your life, you'll be reincarnated as a human. And maybe as a more gifted human, maybe as a gift to you for dedicating your life to being human, right? And this is you consuming the lion and becoming a man, rather than being consumed by the lion. And so this is our work, right? As people, this is our work, to not be consumed by the lion, to not be overindulgent, to not give into these animalistic reptilian tendencies, okay? So that we may be reincarnated as humans, or even ascend, okay? Into higher dimensional thoughts, into non-physical, okay? But I do believe that the three-dimensional world is the most high, leading edge reality, and it is definitely an experience that the non-physical entities want, and they highly value it. So if you are here in the physical realm, you are already royalty. You are already an angelic gift to the universe, to the earth. It's what I believe, okay? And so, as royalty, as somebody who, as a human being in a world of animals, reptilians, and all these other things that don't necessarily have free will, and if you look in the Key of Solomon, we can recognize that angels actually don't have free will either. They have to perform their duty. But a human, and Jim Rohn talks about this, a human is the only thing capable of not living to its fullest potential because of free will. A tree, a dog, well, an undomesticated dog, like a wild animal, plants, anything outside in nature, outside of the human realm, in nature, will live to its fullest potential no matter what. A tree will grow as high as it can possibly grow. A plant will grow as big as it possibly can grow. An animal will grow as big as it possibly can. But a human has the option, has the free will not to. Okay? And that free will is the royal factor in which we all have. Okay? Those choices. That is the godliness which we have. Okay? So going back to death, if we choose to live life in a way that is animalistic or reptilian, or that doesn't serve humanity or the greater good, we could be resurrected as an animal, or simply be consumed by the lion. Okay, this is death. Reincarnation is the next step, where you are utilizing your free will now. Okay, you are now utilizing your free will, because as a human, we've sort of just fallen into this, this hologram, which is what the three-dimensional universe is. It has like 21 trillion layers of holographic data that we've sort of just fallen into. And like, this is a bit woo-woo, but as we get more into this, like, the past, even 5 minutes ago, doesn't exist. And the future, even 5 minutes from now, doesn't exist. So it's only the present moment. In the present moment is all we have. And this is why what was, is, and always will be. If you're a human now, you've always been a human for the entire duration of the three-dimensional universe. Okay? And so, the activation of the death, reincarnation, and ascension, it is a big bundle to unpack, okay? But let's another form of death, okay, is transformation. As a human, we can go through many deaths, which is you are losing different egos and you are creating a new egos as you go along, new identities, losing identities, creating new identities, constantly transforming, okay? But always present, but constantly transforming. And so our old selves are constantly dying. And every moment we have an opportunity to reincarnate as we are alive into a new identity. And we also have the opportunity to ascend into a new identity in the present moment without actually croaking. Okay? Croaking is when the physical vessel gives way. But the physical vessel is not... the physical vessel, the body, the three-dimensional body, this is like a vehicle. And to die, when this dies, the soul doesn't die. The energy doesn't die. It just goes right on, moves on forward, right? Huh. Okay. So I'm having to sit with it for a second here. Having to sit with it. Okay, so the activation comes from the ancestors, but the ancestors are also a form of you. And so you were a part of the stream of consciousness before you came here, but then you came here and now you have an ego. And the highest form of ego is actually a very positive thing. It's not like this negative connotation that society deems ego. It's your identity. It's your soul. Your soul is individualized between all other souls, and this comes from sort of an Alice Bailey sort of idea. Alice Bailey. If you don't know who Alice Bailey is, go look into Alice Bailey books. If you haven't read the Gospel of Thomas, you need to read the Gospel of Thomas. And I would also go read Alexander Cannon's Invisible Influence book. Okay? Because Jesus is not the only one who's raised people from the dead. Okay? There are monks in Tibet also. They're living on Mount Everest who raised people from the dead. And there are written accounts of this in Alexander Cannon's book, The Invisible Influence. Okay, where the beginning is, so in line 18 of the Gospel of Thomas, it says, where the beginning is, there will the end be. Blessed is he who will take his place in the beginning. He will know the end and not experience death. Okay? You know, it's like death, we don't actually know until the physical body croaks. But you can experience past lives. You can experience activations of different talents and abilities. And you can be in contact with the ascended masters. And through all of this contact and information that you can receive through different methods, you can conceptualize sort of what death is to you, right? And what morality is, and what immortality or mortality is, and what immortality is. Okay, now let's talk about ascension, because it's sort of going all over the place. Let's talk about ascension. So I believe that those who ascend have a choice. So Jesus Christ, Lao Tzu, Saint Germain, who happened to be, who lived for over 500 years, an alchemist. These people ascend, and so when they go into their ascension, they start to they pervade the earth, the three-dimensional universe, and they help us out whenever we need it. They are essentially our guides, our angels, the ascended masters. And when you ascend, you have a choice to either go into non-physical ascension or to come back as a bodhisattva, which is somebody who is enlightened and ascended, who has come back to the three-dimensional universe to enlighten and ascend others, to help enlighten and ascend the world, the three-dimensional. Because the whole idea of ascension is the ascended masters have come, or their mission is to ascend the earth into a new earth, a five-dimensional earth rather than a three-dimensional earth. And in order to do that, those who are consumed by the lion must die. They must die. Okay? And so this is where your choice comes in. Are you going to be on the side of ascension? Or are you going to be on the side of death? Are you a student of life or a student of death? Okay? And we've reached a point in the experience now where death is absolute and the lion can consume you. And it will consume you. And it will consume those who are not serving the greatest, highest timeline version of Earth, which is the five-dimensional Earth that we are coming into. Okay, and this is transmissions from the Ascended Masters. This is transmissions from the current Bodhisattvas, who are the yogis and the Ascended Masters who have chosen to come back to Earth to help others ascend. Okay, and when you go through Kundalini awakenings and when you start to move the energy up your spine, you start to have activations of all of the past life things that have happened. And you start to realize how many and what reincarnations have happened in your own experience, okay? It is a very personal thing, but it is also, on the grand scheme of things, very impersonal because, your choice to ascend is one more ascension that is adding to the ascension of the entire Earth, okay? The entire Earth school that we were on. Okay? So I believe that there are enlightened beings walking around on Earth, here to guide us, and there is resurrection, or reincarnation. So resurrection, reincarnation. Resurrection, Jesus resurrected. Tibetan monks have resurrected humans, and there has been a couple more resurrections written about. But to tame death is to ascend. You must be ascended to tame death. And what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to ascend? Well, the interpretation is all in the Gospel of Thomas. And to truly ascend is to become non-physical again, but keep your identity, like Jesus did. Very interesting. This is my take. All of this is my take on this stuff. Okay. Reincarnation. I believe that most of the humans here, or most of the people I'm talking to right now, probably are reincarnated. Okay, so as a reincarnated being, you've been here many, many times. And throughout the times that you've been here, you've developed these talents and skills. And so, like, let's say you're good at math. Okay, naturally. This is probably because in a past life, you worked very hard at math. You had to learn it from scratch. And now in this life, you get it instantly. Or you may see geometry as something super simple. Well, in a past life, you went through the process of learning the geometry. And I said geometry, but, geometry is this really cool thing because geometry actually activates those memories. Sacred geometry activates things, makes it click. Like the flower of life, the Pisces Vesica, the golden ratio, the Metatron's cube. These things, as you start to draw these things and start to look at these things, you'll start to act. And this is one of the methods that I'm leaking right now. But the sacred geometry is a really good method to remember what you have been through in your experiences. Okay? And you may even activate because of the Pisces Vesica, because of the flower of life that you look at, because of Metatron's cube. These are just a couple of the sacred geometry things that you can look at to try to tune in, or not try, but do tune into your past lives, okay? Excuse my language. Another thing he says in the Gospel of Thomas is, it is not what goes into your mouth that will defile you. It is what comes out of your mouth that will defile you, okay? So like things like saying like try, that word that I just spoke, that word will defile the things that I do. So I must actively work on changing my vocabulary, okay? And so that's something that I'm working on. Okay? So essentially, what I've broken it down to is death is at this point in existence, and at where we're at in the 3D 4D world right now, is death is completely being consumed by the stream of consciousness. Okay, and the stream of consciousness is infinite intelligence. Okay, so it's okay to go back to non-physical, and when you're part of non-physical, it's pure positive energy. And in non-physical, you have infinite knowledge and intelligence, so there's more than likely chance that you have an option to come back, okay? But if you do come back, you'll be reincarnated as whatever your past life, whatever lesson that you need to learn. So if you need to learn the lesson of overindulgence, you probably come back as an animal. Or if you need to learn the lesson of doing something that you shouldn't be doing, you probably come back as a reptile, right? Or a bug. But we want to ascend. And a bug ascends into an animal, ascends into a primate, and ascends into a human being. And there are bodhisattvas like walking around, enlightened beings walking around, such as Maharaji. Such as when Jesus was alive, he was an enlightened being walking around on this planet, helping others ascend. He was already ascended. And then with the resurrection, he proved it. And then he set the world on fire with the proof. He set the world ablaze. But it is him who is guarding the world, as an ascended master, along with all the other ascended masters who watch over the world, okay? That's pretty much my take on those things. There's a lot to unpack and there's a lot to get into. I might make a video on each one specifically, or just a video on the Gospel of Thomas interpretation, Judah Thomas. But it's not something that we can experience, like death. We don't actually know what happens when the 3D dies, but it is when you tune into death and the death and resurrection and reincarnation and ascension, when you tune into that stuff and you start to meditate on it, and this is what I would recommend that you do: meditate on death and then see what happens. Okay, just meditate on it. That's another method. Okay, meditating on death and meditating on reincarnation, and just thinking, not thinking about it, but meditating on it, allowing the thoughts to come in. Okay, that was sort of my take on it. That was a really brief take on it. It's only 25 minutes in. So if you have any questions about what I just said, please ask, and then I can answer them either in the comments, or I'll answer them in another video. And then, yeah, that's about all I have to say about that right now. I might have more videos coming out about that.